Xavier Tillman is back. The Celtics are running it all the way back. Everybody from an incredible locker room is back. The value and maybe the pitfalls of that. Plus, Kemba Walker retires. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster brand, it's holiday season. Drop Drew in the mix. And 3 from KP, no, we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Juice, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in Locked On NASA. Karalis on the breakdown. Clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and J's, how we started, raising banners, how we finish. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I got you covered every Monday through Friday with a free, fresh podcast that drops directly to your device. So subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comments section. Let me know what you're thinking about everything we're talking about, the team, me, whatever. I'm John Karalis. I used to play a while ago. Now I'm covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I've also written the book called Built Different, a commemorative book on the Celtics' historic championship season. Buy it anywhere you can find books, including triumphbooks.com/CelticsWin. Use the code Celtics24 for 25% off. Today, we're talking about, first of all, today we're talking about Gametime. Gametime. You download the app, you create an account, you use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase of last-minute tickets. Terms apply. Later on, we'll get to Kemba Walker. We'll talk about the value and maybe the pitfalls of returning the entire locker room. But we'll start with Xavier Tillman. We're shoring it up. We're shoring up the bench with the exact same bench, the exact same team. And we're going to talk about all of this with our boy, Tom Westerholm. What's going on, Tom?
It's me. What's going on?
Just enjoying. It's going to be like, I might forget what season it is because everything is literally going to be exactly the same.
It's gonna be very funny when everybody gets back and everybody's gonna be greeting each other like it's the first day of school. Like, yeah. Wait, where's O'Shea? Oh no, his family moved away. Oh my God, they moved to San Francisco. What? Oh my God, I'm gonna miss that guy. Like,
seriously, O'Shea and Svi are gonna be the only two guys not back, which is absolutely incredible. I don't know if I've ever seen this level before. I'm trying to think of the Spurs, the Ginobili, Parker, Tim Duncan Spurs, maybe, but like even they had some turnover. Like no teams don't do this. This is like a byproduct of the collective bargaining agreement because I think the Celtics in a non-second apron world, they would have had a taxpayer mid-level to bring somebody in, and they don't have that. They would have had the Grant Williams TPE that remain like $3.5 million or three, almost whatever it is, to bring somebody else in, and they don't have that. They might have cobbled a couple of salaries together to change up their bench, and maybe so. I don't think that it's specifically just, hey, we're bringing everybody back, but they kind of had no choice. So here we are with
and also it's also a byproduct of like, why would you change anything up? Like,
right. I mean,
there's not a lot of holes here in this roster, which was kind of the entire point of it. So I don't know. Right. Prove that you can beat us. It would be kind of my motto. Like Paul George, cool. Let's see how it goes.
That's great. We're yes. Good luck. And Xavier Tillman will get some cracks at guarding Paul George, especially depending on how the early season goes. It's going to be interesting. So they are running it back with Kornet, Keita, and Tillman as your big man rotation behind Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis, who won't be there until probably Christmas-ish. So it's going to make certain matchups interesting. It's going to make certain, like, it's going to make a Philly matchup interesting. If you get Philly on the second night of a back-to-back, do you sit Al Horford on the first night so you can have him guard Embiid in the second night? Do you not care if Philly wins the series in the regular season and you're just not going to show anything and wait and see if they fall apart? Maybe you never even face them. But bringing Tillman back, I think what the Celtics have just come to settle on is not only we bringing everybody back, these are the best options, and there is some flexibility between Keita is your banger. Cornette is your kind of not going to space the floor. Who knows if he starts shooting 3-pointers again? But he can play out around the perimeter and dribble handoff and make a pass or two and whatever. And Tillman is your switchable guy. Tillman is the 1-5 switch, and maybe plays next to Jayson Tatum in a, maybe Tatum is officially the 5 in those lineups, but Tillman's return gives the Celtics another option, and they have like the versatility, I guess, to just keep going with different choices, different lineups.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and it's one of those nice signings, right? Where it's like, you can kind of compare it to Grant Williams, where sometimes you throw him out there and you're just like, hey, this really strong dude is out there. Can you just shove him like as hard as you can?
Yeah,
if it's Xavier Tillman, it's like, that's pretty hard. Like that dude is a strong guy. I think, the other thing with Tillman, I think people are definitely, let's be abundantly clear here. Celtics fans are overstating it quite a bit when they say that he's the Al Horford replacement. That is not, Xavier Tillman is not an Al Horford replacement. I've seen that sentiment multiple times. Xavier Tillman is a nice player. Al Horford is a Hall of Famer and has been like the bedrock of this team's defense against some of the best players in the entire world. God bless Xavier Tillman. He's a very nice option, but he's not Horford, right? Like,
well, maybe they just mean he just looks like Horford, because we get him confused. It's going to feel like Al Horford is on the floor when Xavier Tillman is on the floor, because we're going to be like, oh, that's Al. Oh, no, it's Xavier. It's Al. Al's been retired for 2 years.
right. Exactly. Yeah. So there is that, I guess. But I think, I'm interested to like the Celtics having that switchable guy is really, really important. If you can develop Tillman with some of these guys, like if you can get him to a point where there is a certain level of comfort, maybe he is knocking down some more threes. Maybe he is kind of doing a very light version of what Al Horford does in some ways. That switchability is really intriguing and really opens up a lot of stuff. I think there's some potential here that goes beyond just a nice depth piece. Like there is a little bit more than that there, which is a nice middle ground in mind.
Well, here are a couple of things that make me think, if I'm going to go, this is the straight up most optimistic thing I can say about knowing that it doesn't always go this way. But if we want to go just pure optimism, he's 25, which he looks like he's 30. He looks like he's Al Horford's age, So he has a very mature look about him. He's 25 years old.
He has a mature look about him. He's got a senior in his name. And there's a lot of things working against you knowing that he's 25.
That's right. But he is. He hasn't hit his prime yet.
Right.
He had been dealing with a knee injury.
Yeah.
So maybe that clears up. And he came over to a team midstream. And if we remember, and this is an extreme example, I think, but it's only extreme now because Derrick White became what he became.
Yes.
When he came over, he wasn't like, oh, wow, they got Derrick White. I keep thinking about that dude from Celtics blog who called it the worst decision ever and a complete bomb of a trade. And it was maybe Brad Stevens' most genius move of his career. So, but it was perceived as like, okay, interesting move. People were complaining about the second pick, that pick swap out in 2028, whatever the hell that is. And now no one even cares about that. Like, we probably owe San Antonio another pick somewhere just because like he has been so awesome. So all of that is to say that I'm not saying that Xavier Tillman is going to blossom into that, but he's 25.
Yeah.
And if he gets healthy and instead of coming in midstream, moving a family, all of that stuff, he knows where he is. He starts a regular season here, and he's part of the preseason, the planning, the rotations, and he has his homework. He knows he's got to work on a jumper. And if he can develop any sort of reliable jumper where you can't help off of him, well, now we're cooking. And it may be, it's not going to be Al Horford, but it may be, Scal Horford. We could do a poor man's Al Horford. Is Scal Horford a good nickname or disrespectful? I can't tell.
Well, might be a little disrespectful. It's solid work, but you might be.
I don't know where that's gonna go.
You're walking right up to the line, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
That's up for debate. I really want to see how people, because I don't even know how I take what I just said. Scal Horford because that implies like he's never going to get past like end of bench. But the Horford part makes it be like, but it's like, but the Horford part's like, oh, he can do a lot of those things. So I don't know. Maybe I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't even know why I said it. And I don't even know what that means. So somebody please help me figure out what I mean by what I just said.
Yeah, help Karalis unpack his own invention here.
Scal Horford as the nickname, because I don't know. Let me take a break. Let's clear our heads. We'll continue with some of the Tillman conversation and fold in the locker room, which was the absolute best locker room I think anybody could ever wish for. No drama, the value of bringing that back together, and the pitfall, potentially, of bringing that back together. That is all coming up in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. I got a summer now. There, once the Celtics settle down, and they can't re-sign any more people. They're basically done doing business. Now maybe I can go check out a Red Sox game. And I can do it on a whim because I can download the Gametime app and check out last-minute tickets for Red Sox tickets, for the Red Sox, for whatever, because they are an official ticket account, ticket seller of Major League Baseball. Here's how Gametime works. It's last-minute tickets for sports, comedy, concerts, theater, everything. They get last-minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying tickets at the last minute. And a lot of times they go down as you get closer to the event. So there's a good chance you can get there. Maybe you miss the first inning and you get an incredible deal and you get there for a whole baseball game mostly. They've got flash deals, in-app deals that are on select seats ahead of the game or the event, zone deals where you pick the section, they pick the seats, you can save some money there. Toggle your all-in pricing, you get no surprise fees at checkout. You can get a panoramic view so you can see exactly what you're looking at before you decide to buy the tickets, and they get the lowest price guarantee, so they credit you 110% of the difference, and if you find those same tickets somewhere else for less. Take the guesswork out of buying these tickets, MLB tickets with Gametime. All you have to do, download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You get $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Once I'm done recording this show, I'm going to go hop on with Jake Madison to record Locked On NBA. So go check that out. We'll be talking about the Celtics. We'll be talking about Donovan Mitchell re-signing with Cleveland. We'll be looking at overall how the conferences have shifted. That's all and a lot more here on how the CBA is impacting this free agency. So go check out Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcasts. All right, let's get back to the conversation. Tom,
I'm a little jealous that you get to talk about Donovan Mitchell because he's my for the next calendar year. He's the guy that I'm just like, that guy's so good. That guy's just so darn good. That guy's so good. He's my.
Okay. Oh well, it's gonna be fun talking about it. And sorry, I do it without you. Sometimes I do things without you, Tom. Is that okay? Can I live a life? Can I have a life? Jeez. I'm sorry you guys had to hear that ugliness. Sometimes it's not all, puppy dogs and rainbows over here in underscore world.
And duck boats around here. Yeah.
So to finish up my thought about Xavier Tillman before I completely derailed myself, there's an opportunity for him to carve out a real role on the bench if he can get that jumper down, which is going to take some work. But there is, I think, the optimistic view of Tillman is that he can grow because he's young. He can grow into this role, and they're getting him cheap, and we can see like he may be the Al Horford replacement, even though he's not Al Horford. He just might be the guy that takes that role.
Yeah,
and when they retool, he's going to have to maybe grow into that. Look, Al is not under contract after next year. Maybe they go year by year after that with Al and see if he's healthy and things change. But at some point, somebody's going to have to slot in there, and it may be Tillman out of default, and we shouldn't expect the same production, but that just might be his spot no matter what.
Right. Like, I think the thing to remember about Al Horford is that he is this is not normal what he's doing, right? Like, you go back to so he was in the 2007 draft, is that 2007 draft. So, you're looking at your Marc Gasol, right? Like these are guys who
retired like 5 years ago, it feels.
It's been a while since you've heard that name. And like that guy was in Al Horford's draft class, right? Like, this is
jeez. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, Joakim Noah, obviously, right, is like the same.
Yeah, right.
Class, obviously. So yeah, I mean, it's like this, there's a shelf life on this. And like, I think you're right I really like the Derrick White comparison with Tillman, because you're right that it's not 1-to-1, because Derrick White's trajectory here is wild. But I think when you look at White when he played for the Spurs, there's all these things that you could identify of like, I like this about that guy. I like this about that guy. And you kind of hoped that he might put a couple of things together, but you always kind of knew if he did, he was going to be a really good player. And I think you could say the same thing about Tillman, right? Like, if you can look at him and kind of say like, I like this about him. I like the switching. I like the strength. I like the kind of the pick and roll acumen as a defender. I like, kind of the potential to be like a really big, solid, strong screen setter. Like, I like a lot of this stuff about him. If he can add a couple of things, if he can add, that jumper, if he can, space it out, even if it's just to the corners, to just give them like the corner outlet, even if you can just add that, I think there's a lot of value here to be had. And, like, that's the kind of thing that's where you trust Brad Stevens. That's where you say like, okay, Brad, I'm sure he's, has asked around and has gotten a sense of like, who this guy is as a worker, the skill sets that are already in place. So I like that Derrick White comparison for that reason. I think there's some nice crossovers there, and certainly some nice. He does kind of seem to have some Brad Stevens to him, like that little special magic that guys Brad likes to have.
Another way that he compares to Derrick White and to everybody else, actually, he's a good dude. He's a good guy. He's just a nice family man who is here to play ball and try to win. And there's no drama about
family men on this team. I respect it.
Yeah, lots of family guys. Just a bunch of kids running around the locker. I mean, seriously, sometimes it looks like a daycare, because like Drew has his kids in there, adorable. Like, everybody's got like adorable kids. They're all so cute. They're all running around. Like Drew's son. Oh my God. I'm like, he's so cute. He's like shooting basketballs into the laundry basket and celebrate, like, just so full of joy. And there's Deuce, who's just the Deuce moment of like, we almost lost, was like perfect, like unbelievable. And Al Horford's son is just soaking it all in. That kid has learned how to celebrate things. He is right there. Just watching everybody with their kids in the locker room.
Also, that kid, apparently, if you listen to Scal on the broadcast, apparently that kid is dang good.
Baller. Yeah. I think there's a reason why Al is keeping him around, so he can kind of like get a feel for NBA basketball, because he might be ready to play. So all of this is to say that this locker room has been incredible. Yeah. And look, I'm not going to pretend like I'm Bob Ryan, but I've been around a few locker rooms. I've been in the Kyrie Irving locker room. I've seen Tristan Thompson in the locker room. I've seen guys. You kind of get a sense of like who's a diva. You get a little sense of like, okay, there's a little something here. These two guys don't talk to each other. They just kind of walk past each other. And, you don't always have to be friends with everybody, but there's, you'd like people to get along, and everybody like got along. Like people talk about Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Like they're very different personalities. Like I don't think there's any reason, if they were just two dudes in the world, right, they wouldn't be, I don't think they'd be friends. No. But they interact in the locker room. Like you see them interacting in the locker room. You see there's no tension. So the locker room has been such a great place. I think there's some real value to bringing that same vibe back and trying to recapture that, because whenever there's no drama, you can focus on the task at hand. They all listen to the coach. They listen to each other, and they're all kind of on the same page. So there's real value to kind of like trying to run that back.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. And I think, I think that makes it so much easier, to be able to, because it's not just like, oh, that there's no drama. It's also like a respect that seems to be like really, pervasive is the wrong word because it makes it sound negative, but there seems to be a very pervasive respect, like where if you ask somebody about Derrick White, the answer you're going to get is this glowing, like, man, that guy's so good. You ask somebody about Peyton Pritchard, it's like, that guy is a dog. You get like
Jaylen Brown, he's a blanking legend.
yeah, exactly. You get these, if anybody's going to get disrespected, feels like it's going to be like Luke Cornett, and they're going to be joking because you can do that with Luke Cornett, which incidentally is great because then you have sort of the class clown guy who can be that outlet, and now you brought that guy back, right? So I think there's so much value in it. Like you said, you've been in locker rooms that are not healthy, and it's striking. Like you can tell when things are not healthy, and this team, obviously from the outside, but it never looked anything like any of those toxic locker rooms that you and I have seen. So yeah, I think there's a ton of value in bringing it back. I think there's a ton of value in, giving this thing another shot.
Watching like the clip of Porzingis kissing Derrick White on the head, it's just hilarious. Even in the finals.
I'm just imagining Marcus Morris like kissing Terry Rozier on the head, and like what
whatever. Even like Jaylen Brown after Derrick White smashed his face on the floor, and he just walks over and says, "Man, you sure is ugly." and Derrick's like, "Don't make me smile," like that. Like those little moments of like, man, that's just genuine good teammates.
Yeah.
Now, I mentioned the pitfall. I'll mention it quickly before we take a quick break, but there is the potential. Like each locker room is different from year to year, and this is the one thing that I hesitate to bring up, but it has to be brought up. I am curious to see how good this locker room is, and if it becomes impervious to some of these pitfalls, or if it gives in to some of these pitfalls. And I think that's their next test, the test of human nature next year. Did they buy into their own hype as champions? Did they think like, did somebody go off and start getting a bunch of endorsements that didn't get a bunch of endorsements? Is somebody going to be looking for endorsements that didn't get them? Is someone going to think that they did enough work because they won a championship and they didn't do that work this summer? All of these little things, these human nature things that could be an issue. Are they going to show up? Are they going to rear their heads? And if they do, is this locker room strong enough for someone to look at that person and be like, snap out of this, buddy, because that's not how we won last year. Like, that's what I want to know. Or does that person just come in with the sunglasses and being like, hey, guess what? Guess who's the king? Me. And like, everybody bow down. And you're like, whoa, what the hell happened to you, buddy? Like, coming in with the whatever. I don't know. Give me a second here. I'll get your reaction.
These are the therapy Celtics. That's not going to happen.
You sure about that, Tom?
No, but I think the good news, if you're this year's team, right, is that one, these are the therapy Celtics. Two, you're also in a position where you just won the title, so you've got that going for you. Three, everybody just got paid. Like, so sure, people might be chasing endorsements, but like everybody on this team just got a nice check, a nice, like a nice extension. Everybody's paid. I think everybody's going to come back happy, paid, ready to run it back. Like, confident. Like, I think there were so many good vibes with this year's team. And like, you're right that there can be pitfalls and any number, like locker rooms are fragile ecosystems, right?
Yes.
Like a little sand, can throw things off for sure. But the good news is that there's also a world in which a lot of the things that could have been pitfalls this year got put aside.
Yeah.
Right. Like, team won the title. Pressure's off you. There's like so much less pressure on this year's team, and everybody's paid. I think there's also the chance that this team's even healthier the second year because, like, I don't know, what is there to worry about? Like, keep it rolling. I'm paid. You're paid. We're having fun. We like each other. Let's get it.
Yeah, I think there's a real possibility for that. And like the possibilities are different side. Like the negatives are there. The negatives are the potential for the negatives exist. And there's nothing we can do. We're going to talk about it from time to time over the course of the summer and into the beginning of next year. Cause you just don't know. You don't know, it's similar to like, when you're single, you go to the gym all the time and you're in great shape and you get into a relationship and it's like, oh, I want to sit at home and sit on the couch and watch a movie with this person and let's go get some ice cream and pizza. And you're like, oh, these pants must have shrunk. That's what it was. It's not me. And that's something that if you get a little fat and happy as a champion,
right.
The question there is, does somebody look around and be like, hey guys, let's get back into the gym. We came back a little soft. Like our 6-packs are 2-packs now. Let's get back to the 6-packs. So we'll see. But the potential for that is there, but the potential for like the tightness going away and like, oh man, like we won our championship. Let's just do it again. Let's do it again. And like there is no pressure to win that second one. You're like, let's just, we got it. And when the pressure's off, everything's just so much easier. It's so great. That free kind of doesn't matter. Results kind of don't matter, but when they don't matter, you get them. Again, when you are in that relationship and you go to a bar with your friends and you got that cool attitude, all of a sudden people start talking to you and you're like, no, I'm in a relationship. Good. I'm married. I'm good.
Right.
And there, but that confidence of like, oh man, this is the one dude is not talking to me. I got to go talk to him. And like that kind of like, you start like winning because you're like, it doesn't bother me. And so that effect is there. Let's take a minute to say happy trails to Kemba Walker, who is one of my favorite players of all time, just as a person, the person that I've covered. He announced his retirement, his official retirement. He had been trying to get back into the NBA and called it quits. And I'm curious what he's going to do next, but there's just was never a nicer person when it comes to the media and me, he answered every one of my silly little questions. He'd always do our one-on-ones. He was always open to that, and he didn't have to be. Yeah, that he didn't have to be, and he was open to all of those. And I asked him silly questions about stupid ideas I had for stories, and he gave them actual thought.
Yeah,
and that was really cool. And this is just a little example of how cool he was to me. And this means something to me. It may not mean something to people listening or watching, but he was traded away and he came back to Boston and he's warming up. And I'm sitting there doing the reporter thing on the sidelines. Like I'm on the baseline, just kind of watching. We're all around. No one pays us any attention. We're just part of the background scenery. So players never acknowledge our existence unless like we catch a ball that comes our way and we have to throw it back. That's the only thing that so I'm sitting there watching and Kemba just gives me a little nod and a little wave to and I'm so taken aback. Like I do I'm looking around like he's like, I'm expecting him to be talking to somebody behind me, like I don't know, like Jayson Tatum's walking up behind me and he's waving to him, and he's like, "No, you, like, hi." I'm like, "Oh, hi," and he's laughing at me because I'm like, I'm doing the who me what, and he's just like,
you dropped your notebook. You're like,
yeah, like it was such a silly little moment, but it was like he saw a reporter who was there during his time in Boston. And he remembers me and said, hi, just like a nice person thing to do when players never acknowledge your existence. And I'm like, I was so taken aback. It was a funny little moment. And it's like that little type of thing of Kemba just being like, yeah, man, I remember you. Hi. Yeah. It's like, you know what? Cool dude, man. So I'm sad that his career is over, but you know, I'm happy that he had a great career and that he got, you know, as much as he did out of it.
No question. Two quick things about that. One, I mean, I think the thing about Kemba that I always really loved as a player was that the joy that he played the game with. I mean, that dude loved basketball. And you know, when you're somebody who also loves basketball, it's like, I totally get it that for some of these guys, hoops becomes a job. I totally get it. It is a grind. You have to work and work and work, and sometimes it doesn't pay off, and sometimes you don't feel like going to practice, and sometimes you have other stuff going on in your personal life, and you just don't feel like playing. You know, I get it. I totally get it. But when you get to watch a guy who loves hoops and loves playing the game, there's something very, very gratifying about that. And Kemba was that guy. Like, he just loved basketball. You know, Isaiah Thomas is the same way, right? Like, you know, guys who, like, just guys you love basketball, love hoops, love high level hoops, love being part of it, love the whole process of it. It's a beautiful thing, right? Number two, I totally get what you're saying about because like it really speaks to reporters and like we're so removed. We remove ourselves from the game to the point that it's like, no, like we're literally not even here. Like we don't even. I get it. You do your practicing thing. I don't exist. You don't want to talk to me. To where it's like. Yeah, it was so striking for me. Like, if anybody ever wants to know why I defend Marcus Morris on this podcast and like on, you know, Twitter or whatever, it's like, because when he came back to Boston, I said, hey man, you know, how you been? How's your kid? He's like, oh, good, man. Good. How's your kid? I was like,
yeah. Good. You remember I
also am a father. Yeah, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like, but yeah, it's funny. But yeah, no, I mean, Kemba was awesome to watch, and I mean, you know, easy guy to cover. In a way that, you know, again, especially coming off Kyrie, it's like, you know, like, and look, I'm not dumping on Kyrie. I'm so done dumping on Kyrie. That's not what I'm doing here. It's just like the juxtaposition of going from how difficult it was at times to cover Kyrie Irving to as easy as it was to cover Kemba Walker. It was, I mean, Kemba was a good guy to cover and a heck of a basketball player. And like also wish him the best.
I almost want to give him a championship ring because he was very instrumental in the development of Tatum and Brown.
Perfect bridge. Perfect bridge star.
He saw them for the stars that they were. stars that they are.
Yeah.
And he willingly was like, no, this is their team. He didn't come in here to be like, I'm Kemba, like the Derrick White joke about Drew Holiday. Like, he could have come in here and said, like, I'm Kemba Walker, and people were like, yeah, 100%, you're Kemba Walker. He didn't do that. He tried to pump up Tatum and Brown, and you're right, exactly. He's a perfect bridge after the sour taste of the Kyrie Irving experience. He came in and was great. It was great for those guys, and really, I think, kind of reset. It was like an antiseptic, like pouring hydrogen peroxide on a cut. Like, okay, this is okay. We're cleaning this sucker out. We're good, and we're gonna heal here. So he was important. He was important to this championship team because of the stuff that he did back then. So happy trails to Kemba, man. And he teased something that's coming up next. I don't know. People were like, "Oh, he's close with Joe Mazzulla, Kemba Walker, Celtics assistant coach." That would be amazing. That would be amazing. I would wholeheartedly support. That would be incredible to see Kemba as a coach. But these guys, I mean, who said this? Oh, it was Evan Turner. And I'll wrap up the show with this. He was like, it's a lot of work to make a fraction of what you made as a player. And it's like, I kind of don't want to do that. I've made a lot of money. I don't need to be working this hard for that paycheck. So we'll see.
Yeah. I respect that.
All right. Tom,
man.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you as much. Thank you so much. And I also thank everybody for listening, watching, participating. Again, tell me what I meant by Scal Horford, because I still don't know what I meant by that. Get in the comment section of the YouTube page and let me know what you think about that. And I would love it if you shared the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.